So I imagine that if you're making the remodeling of the brain, that there are times that stress may trigger reactivation of something that's in the automatic portion. But the farther you get along with the remodeling, the fewer those things are going to be sitting there. And so you start to behave more naturally in the new fashion as you've gotten farther along in the process.
You're exactly 100% correct. And there's one additional component that's important, and that is the reward component. So the brain loves reward. That's what the neurochemicals are all about, right? The feel-good neurochemicals, the dopamines, the serotonins, the endorphins, the oxytocins. So that's why addiction is so heinous, because those things are so dopamine intensive that the brain becomes locked into them because it can't find that amount of pleasure anywhere else in any other form of life pleasure that we would normally do naturally. So that's why addiction becomes so heinous. But if you can convince the brain, and the brain will become convinced just based on how in alignment you are, that this new way of being, this new identity that you've created for yourself is more rewarding than the old way, then it will naturally orient itself towards the new thoughts, feelings, and behaviors because they're more rewarding. So the brain chases reward. So if the old patterns were not rewarding, they were uncomfortable, they were unhelpful, they were unwanted, then your brain doesn't really want to go there because it's not rewarding, but it goes there because it's predictable and it's what it knows, it's what you've shown it. But if you show it a new way that is more rewarding because you're calmer, more satisfied, then it will want to go there because it's more pleasurable, right? And so that's the whole key here, is to tie this new way of being to reward. And so the most powerful forms of reward are intrinsic rewards. So intrinsic rewards, meeting your psychological needs, being proud, the feelings of achievement, accomplishment, loving relationships, all of that stuff are deeply rewarding. We're actually, humans are hardwired to enjoy those types of things. If our new life is built around those things, then our brain will naturally pull those in favor of other memories that are not rewarding. But the key is to make sure that these new ways of being really jive with what makes us tick internally. There's one additional component I'll add, and that is when we're identifying the unhelpful patterns that exist today, what we do is we deconstruct them, meaning we break it into pieces to understand the constructs of what's underneath and holding up these patterns and where they originated from. So have the individual explain where they think this pattern originated from, and generally it's like way back, in childhood, where some form of this began to develop. And then what we have to do is, in order to move to a new construction, and these patterns are constructed and tethered together with thought, emotion, and actions, all kind of tethered together, right? Because it's very rare that it's just an emotion. It's usually a thought comes with an emotion, and then the idea for an action or a behavior joins that. Like it's so if you get angry, like if something triggers you, it ticks you off repeatedly, like you're feeling the emotion of anger, you're having these negative thoughts, and you may be lashing out. Okay, that's a behavior, a thought, an emotion, all wrapped up together, right? So we figure out where it came from. And that moment where the individual begins to understand this thing that they keep reenacting, day after day, week after week, month, year after year, from years. And they finally get to the realization that it started way back there. The amount of insight and epiphany that occurs in someone when they recognize that what they're doing today has originations and seeds from way back when, it's mind-blowing for people. So then we have to say, okay, obviously this is a very ingrained pattern, a very deeply held root in the ground. And so we have to loosen our grip on it. We have to then find evidence as to why it no longer is valid today. So it's almost like you pull this jar out of your pantry and you can't turn the lid off of it because it's stuck. And so you have to tap it on the countertop to get it to loosen. And that's what we're doing with these patterns, is trying to get the grip, the glue on them to loosen and weaken, so that our mind then becomes open to forming a different pattern in relation to what this pattern keeps rising over. If we can somehow get our grip loosened on this pattern, then our mind begins to open up to alternatives.
If you enjoyed that clip, click up here and see the full episode. Make sure you also subscribe so you don't miss anything new. And if you want to see other full episodes of Uncommonly Remarkable, just click on this playlist and you'll get everything that you need. Thanks for taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Uncommonly Remarkable.